Hey everybody, video here for you today. Now I have made probably 2 or 3 videos total on Cahokia, but today is going to be a little different. I have really documented what is here. I have documented Monk's Mound, but today we're going to talk about a burial that was here and how it relates to other cultures and places and times in history. Now here is Monk's Mound right here. And this covers about 16 acres, and I think the Great Pyramid covers 13 acres. So that is a huge earthen mound. Now, I want to talk about what has been kind of lost to time, but right down here, there was a Woodhenge discovered, and what I really haven't covered in my previous videos is there was mounds that were kind of built right into the Woodhenge here. And I think you can kind of see the remainder of one of them today, and one of them was right here. But what was found inside of Mound 72, they call it, is very important. Also, in Monk's Mound, the large earthen mound, there was a tablet called the Birdman tablet, and that's very important to talk about, so let's just get to it. Now here is the Woodhenge that is west of Monk's Mound here. And there were some mounds found within this Woodhenge, and the people are kind of trying to put together the story just based on what is found here, or the cosmology of these people. But this is on the north-south axis right here. This is known as Mound 96. This is Mound 72, and there was 2 areas beneath the mound, and that's what these 2 places indicate right here. Let's just read. It says, early in the history of Cahokia, the portion of the site containing Mounds 72 and 96 was the location of a Woodhenge, a ceremonial area with a 412-foot diameter circle of 48 upright wooden posts. Archaeologists date the placement of at least one of the posts to approximately 950 of the current era. Archaeological research has shown that 4 of the posts were at the cardinal locations of north, south, east, and west, and the east and western posts marking position of the equinox, sunrise, and sunsets. But here's an artist rendition of what Cahokia looked like. The large Monk's Mound here, the chief, the ruler of the sun, lived on top. Many other mounds. This place was pretty fortified. Right down here by the Woodhenge, there was a mound 72. And there was an important burial of a ruler, most likely found here. This is a depiction of what was found in Mound 72. A ruler was buried, and he became known as the Birdman of Cahokia. The placement of the 2 mounds at the location and the directions in which they are oriented correspond to several of the solstice marking posts. The post nearest the later elite burial of the Birdman is the location that marked the summer solstice sunrise at the times of the site's use. But this is how the burial is described. 5 meters west of the post that marked the summer solstice was the burial of a tall man, now thought to have been an important early Cahokian ruler. The body was placed to his feet to the northwest on an elevated platform covered by a bead of more than 20,000 marine shell disc beads arranged in the shape of a falcon, with the bird's head appearing beneath and besides the man's head, its wings and tail beneath his arms and legs. The burial is now known as the Beaded burial or the Birdman burial. He was also found buried with artifacts, arrowheads from the Mississippian world, specifically from Tennessee, southern Illinois, Wisconsin, and the Caddoan Mississippi peoples in Oklahoma. The arrowheads strongly indicated that Cahokia had extensive trade links in North America. The Falcon warrior or Birdman is a common motif in the Mississippian culture, and not only in the Mississippian culture, but it's a cross-culture thing worldwide. And since these remains were connected with solstice markers, certainly you can call this guy a ruler of the sun, thought to be in the form of a falcon or an eagle. Also found over 50 bodies of females they theorized were sacrificed. Now here's a small artifact I mentioned at the beginning. This is called the Birdman tablet. I believe this is only about 10 centimeters tall at the most. But the beak and the wings, other side, theorize these are snake scales. So a winged falcon or bird that is associated with a serpent or a snake also found here in their symbolism. And it was certainly connected to the tall man, the ruler that was found here wrapped in a cape, Falcon cape, made of 20,000 marine shells. Here in Chichen Itza, at the base of the El Castillo pyramid, is Kukulkan, the plumed or winged serpent coming from the Mayans. Here's the Aztec deity Quetzalcoatl, and that comes from the Nahuatl language, meaning feathered serpent. Serpent and feathered imagery there. Also on Easter Island, you have the Birdman cult and competition, the Tangata Manu. The winner of a traditional competition on Rapa Nui, Easter Island, the ritual was an annual competition to collect the first Sooty-Tern egg of the season from the islet of Motu Nui, swim back to Rapa Nui, and climb the sea cliff. But here are some ancient petroglyphs on Easter Island that have to do with the Birdman, and also some paintings here in a cave. And of course we have the Falcon, Horus, the god coming from Egypt. Here you see the serpent in the headdress here, but the story of Horus is not quite so simple. There are many, many aspects of Horus, and there are really kind of two divisions of Horus. One, he is kind of the sun god and the almighty protector and the uniter of the two lands. And then the other one, he's directly associated to the Osiris myth. And as time went on in Egypt, Horus evolved into many different entities with many different roles. Here is Horus from the Temple of Dendera, the sun disk over his head, and the serpent leading the way on the solar boat coming out of the lotus flower. A lot of symbolism in the Temple of Dendera, and I've covered that, but the falcon and the serpent here in Egypt, certainly connected. Now this comes from Live Science from June. It says Bronze Age Siberian Birdman wore a collar of beaks and skulls. This guy was found in Siberia, seemed to be a ruler and connected with birds and had that symbolism. And it's pretty much the same as the guy found at Cahokia, the rulers coming from the Aztecs and the Mayans, and also from Horus from Egypt. And of course you have the Sumerian birdmen. And this seems to go way back in time. Seems they were carrying forward knowledge. But here on this website, it says the Birdman tablet represents an eagle or a peregrine falcon, snake scales on the backside. Here you see the head of Kukulkan, the serpent with the feathers. Now, if you watch my Ancient America series, you know I brought up the Mayans a lot. Here is a shell Gorget found at the Spiral Mounds in Oklahoma, and the people of Cahokia were definitely connected to the people at the Spiral Mounds. Who are these two people? These are the hero twins of the Mound Builders mythology. Where does that come from? Now this comes from the Virginia Art Museum. These are the Mayan hero twins, Hanapu and Zabalanque, and they are essential to the Popul Vuh and the Mayan creation story in the Mayan Book of the Dead. But these hero twins found in the Spiral Mounds, and that was literally called the King Tut of the mound builder finds. There were so many artifacts found here, but certainly things that related to their cosmology and creation story. The twins, same as the Mayans. Here is the Birdman coming from Etowah, the site in Georgia. Just wanted to throw that in there. Seems to be a ruler type with the bird imagery. Now here's an artifact, and I just could not verify the fact. It states it comes from Gobekli Tepe. I'm not 100% positive, but a definite Birdman with wings and serpent imagery below. And I've heard Andrew Collins talking about shamans from Gobekli Tepe, and they wore bird-type costumes. Now here is a bird goddess, I believe from 5500 BC. These are paintings on cave walls of bird men, and I covered this one, I believe. That go back to 15,000 BC. And here's some other bird imagery on cave walls that go back to 18,000 BC. Now, people looked at the animals kind of as the gods, and the birds were always kind of in one special aspect of being gods to these people. But certainly that takes it back, way, way back into prehistory. The symbolism of men and birds together combined as one and forming a godlike ruler figure. But Cahokia here was one of the largest cities in the world about 1,000 years ago. Earthen step pyramid with a base bigger than the Great Pyramid of Egypt, a very important city. And certainly some of the symbolism matches other important cultures from around the world. and even going way back into time. But this was called the City of the Sun. The ruler was the Chief of the Sun. But the Chief of Cahokia, theorized to be an eagle or maybe even a falcon here, the Falcon, Horus in Egypt. The pharaohs eventually took Horus names. They became directly associated with the falcon. Here, with the sun disk over his head, the sun and the falcon and the ruler seems to match up pretty good. But that is my video on Cahokia. The bird tablet was found in Monk's Mound here. But this was a very important site in ancient America, obviously, one of the largest cities in the world 1,000 years ago. An elite burial of what they called the Birdman or the Beaded Man. Is the ancient United States any different than any part of the world? Well, obviously it's not. But right down here, an important ruler known as the Birdman of Cahokia was found buried in a cape made of shell beads, 20,000 shell beads. He was the ruler of the sun. This place lines up with the sun. The bird imagery comes from many cultures from around the world. Hope you thought this was interesting. You all have a very nice day.